Hi everyone, welcome back to Angela's Craft Room. As promised in the last video, I've come back to do a mail card for you. So I'm going to be using the guide greetings, and I'm also going to be using some of the handmade embellishments that I showed you in the last video, how you could make your own handmade embellishments, any colour, so that it would suit whatever card you're doing. So I thought today we'd do a mail card. So I'm going to be using the car image from the set Guide Greetings. And I'm not sure, we'll see how we go by the time I put the embellishments on, whether I might use the shoes, not too sure yet. So we'll see how we go. So we'll get started. So to start with, I've got a piece of early espresso, which is 11 inches long by 4 1/8 of an inch wide, and then scored at 5 1/2, and that is your base card. So I'll just grab my grid paper, and then I've got a piece of crumb cake, which we're going to be stamping on. So that measures 5 1/4 by 3 7/8. So I'm going to be using the background stamp hardwood, but I'm actually going to be using it in that orientation and not that, because I want my card to open like that. Okay, so I'm just going to grab that out. Now I want it in that way. So I'm just got my crumb cake ink pad, and I'm just going to stamp it up. And I have showed you previously how when it's such a big background stamp, the easiest way to do it. So this is how I normally do it for those that haven't seen. And then I'm just going to put my piece of crumb cake down there. Then grab just a piece of photocopier paper. And you're really not, once the card's finished, you're not going to see much of the background stamp, but it just adds a bit more dimension to my card. Take that off, and the tweezers just get, and that can go there to be cleaned afterwards. So then we've got that. So it looks quite, I really like these large background stamps. They really add a lot more texture to your card, and I'm just being careful because it's still a little bit wet. So while that just dries for a second, I'll just glue in the inside piece. So I've just got a piece of photocopy paper, and I've put the Guide Greetings car, should say, on there. And I'm just going to use some snail, because it's only photocopy paper. One way to save on your stamps. If I was using cardstock inside the card, I would use Tombow liquid glue. So just put that on my grid line, and I'm just going to put that straight down into my card, and that's going to be the inside of the card. Done. I think it's always nice to have a little image inside your card as well. I don't like, unless it's a special order, I don't like to put sentiments inside, because you just don't know what the person wants that's going to buy that card from you eventually. So then work out which way, which actually I think I'm going to have that way. So I'm just going to adhere that with the Tombow liquid glue, And I did tell you what this measured. It's 5 1/4 by 3 7/8 of an inch. And I'm just going to pop that down. So just straighten that up a little bit. And that's our first layer of many. Okay, so then what I want to do is, from the coffee break DSP, I've just cut a piece and it measures, if I can read it, it's dark, 2 inches by 3 3/4. And there are no magic sizes, like you can just make whatever sizes you want. It just, when you use different size DSP and cardstock, it just really adds dimension to your card. So I'm just going to have that so I can see a little bit of the background stamp just on that side there. Just straighten that up a bit. See that I have a little bit of glue there, so just take that off. Okay, and then what I've got is, just put that to the side for a minute, I've got a piece of early espresso which I've already put it through my embossing folder, the brick wall embossing folder, and that piece measures 2 3/4 by 4 inches. Okay, so just work out which way I want it. But I'm just going to adhere on the back just a piece of crafting foam. I've been using this a lot lately and I just find it's more economical price wise. Like when I want that to sit up, rather than putting a heap of dimensionals, I want it just to sit up off the card a little bit. So when you're applying the craft foam, you need to use a tacky glue. This is the one I use. It's just called Super Tack Glue. I'm sure wherever you are, you'd be able to get some just from the cheap shop or somewhere like that. And it will last forever. It's the only thing I use it for is when I adhere the foam. So I'm going to place it down like that, and you just cut the foam just a little bit smaller than your piece that you're applying it to. So I'm not really worried if it's not straight under there, which it is pretty straight. So I'm just going to press down on that, and it just gives you that little bit of height on the card. So once again adds that bit of dimension. So I'm going to pop it about there. So I just have, yeah. So I'm applying this again because I'm doing the craft foam to the card, so I need to apply the craft foam, the super tacky glue, sorry, to the craft foam. You can get the craft foam from cheap shops, but it will only be 1 millimetre thick, which I found wasn't thick enough for me. So I had a search on eBay and I found someone there, and I get one now that's 3 millimetres thick, and it's a lot better. So that's just going to sit up on the card a little bit. Gives you that time too to move it a bit, which is really good. Now, for my first embellishment, that was my handmade one that we did I don't know if I did this one the other day. I did a few for you, but I've brought in the colour Marina Mist as well. So, and I've got my car image, and I think I will just glue this flat because I'm going to put my car on some dimensionals. So I'm only doing the bottom half because I want it to sit up over that brick wall embossed piece. I just realised, yes, that's okay. So that's just an enamel shapes that you can get from Stampin' Up too. Okay, so then I'll just place the car there for a minute. Then I'm going to bring in put now, because I've got the foam there, stick that down. It's not going to fit. I need to work quickly so I can lift. So I can just lift that up a little bit before it's completely dry and just slip it in. Alright, I just wanted to slip it in underneath that brick wall, and it's sitting up a little bit there, so I must probably need a couple of dimensionals. Just pull the backs off so I can just slip them underneath. So that's fitting quite well. So that's another one of our handmade embellishments. And then I've got another one here, but I don't know if I want to use that one. also have this one. Now this is something I didn't show you the other day. I sort of leave a little flap up and I've got the sentiment going across like that. So that's another option. We did the curtain fold and then we punched our scallops out, and then we put it onto a piece of cardstock, in this case crumb cake. And you can still gives me time to need a bit of glue under there, bit of tacky glue, for that to go down. And I'm not sure whether I want that there. I really wanted to put this one Okay, what I think I might do is grab my scissors and I'm going to cut half of that embellishment off. Like that. And then take my tear and tape off, and then that's going to sit really nicely. If I can get it straight, that will sit really nicely on that top piece. And I've put the buttons, these buttons are from True Gentleman. So then I think I just need another couple of dimensionals, or maybe even one, just so, because it's not sitting up in the air. So but I think by having that background stamp, even though you can only see a bit at the top of the bottom and the sides, I think it just takes that blankness off the cardstock. And then we've embossed that, which is adding more dimension as well. So then we're going to pop the car on dimensionals. Been getting asked for mail cards lately quite a bit, so and I just think we tend to forget about the mail cards. We tend to do a lot of flowers and things for female orientated, but need to get into this mail card making a bit more. And bring that back and just see where I want to pop. So I'm just going to pop that, even though it's you could have it over here if you want. I just want it there. It doesn't worry me in the least that it's a little bit over that embellishment. I quite like that because I don't want the car sitting right down on the embossed piece. Then I could even, to make it really superly dimensional, we might even, now I've just cut that out with a scallop punch with in crumb cake, and I just need to put a couple of dimensionals on the back of the shoes. and I didn't add any colour to the black shoes, but to the car I just used, very lightly highlighted it with a couple of Stamping Blends markers. I think they're better off over there. So I'll just grab my Tombow and put a bit in, mainly in the middle, because then it lets me move it around a bit if I haven't got it exactly where I want it. And we could have put the scalloped on dimensionals too if we wanted to, but the car's up on dimensional, so I didn't want to take away from the car. So just popping them there. And then I've even got a couple of hats that I thought would look really good down there. Or I've got singular ones. Can be that far apart. I'll just do these ones, that'll do. I do have this no, it's not going to fit this time, so I'll keep that for another day. Put it in my cellophane bag and then it's all ready to go for another card. And I'm just going to put, nearly finished, just 2 dimensionals onto my hats. I have been blogging most of my cards on my blog, so you know, always check out my blog. I do leave the link to my blog below all my videos. And I'm just going to, know whether I want to put them, I think I'll put them down a little bit from the top. And I think that turned out quite well. You can see how by adding all those dimensionals, it just, like all those layers with DSP, background stamping, cardstock, the crafting foam, it just adds a lot more to the card. And we tend to, with our mail cards, we don't tend to embellish them enough, I feel. So I think making your own embellishments is the way to go. It really does pick up your card. So I hope you enjoyed that tutorial, and thank you for watching and subscribing to my channel. I really do appreciate it, and I thank you for spending some of your day with me today. And until next time, happy crafting!